It's midnight. This is Nightline. I'm Brandon Wong. The top stories. RON95 diesel dropped below capped price. And 59-year-old woman from Wuhan is latest 2019 nCoV case in Malaysia. Good morning. Good news for road users as fuel prices across the board will be cheaper beginning tonight until February the 14th. Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng, who made the announcement on Friday, said the lower retail price were in line with the fall in global oil prices. For petrol, the retail price of RON95 will drop 4 sen to 2 ringgit 4 sen per litre, while the price of RON95 will decrease 7 sen to 2 ringgit 34 sen per litre. As for diesel, the price will fall 10 sen to 2 ringgit 8 sen per litre.
Dasar penstabilan harga runcit ini yang diamalkan oleh Kerajaan Pakatan Harapan memanfaatkan rakyat di mana apabila harga petroleum di pasaran dunia turun, harga runcit produk petroleum juga akan diturunkan bagi membolehkan pengguna memperolehi manfaat penurunan harga minyak dengan segera.
When asked whether the fall in petroleum prices would influence the economic stimulus package to be announced, Lim said the matter would be assessed according to the year-long impact. On whether the government-imposed petrol ceiling price would be reviewed given the current downward trend in oil prices, Lim added the ceiling price was already set at a low level. Currently, the price of RON95 fuel is capped at 2 ringgit 8 sen per litre and 2 ringgit 18 sen per litre for diesel, while the price of RON97 fuel is floated and determined by market prices. Last year, the government spent 6 billion ringgit to subsidise petroleum and liquefied petroleum gas products. A 59-year-old female tourist from Wuhan, China, is the latest confirmed case of the novel coronavirus in the country, bringing the total number of local cases to 15. In his now daily press briefing, Health Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad said the woman, her husband, son and daughter-in-law entered the country from Singapore on January the 17th before travelling to Johor Bahru 4 days later.
Ujian pengesanan dan pengesahan ketika beliau sampai ke fasiliti kami, pengesanan dan pengesahan 2019 nCoV ini yang dijalankan ke atasnya telah dilaporkan positif pada 6 Februari. Ya, dia datang 5, the next day 6 terbukti positif. Beliau kini dimasukkan ke ward isolasi di Hospital Permai Johor Bahru dan dalam keadaan stabil. Ya. Suaminya yang berusia 66 tahun kini berada di ward isolasi di hospital bersama beliau. Ya. Suaminya tidak bergejala. Bagaimanapun sampel telah diambil dan menunggu keputusan makmal.
She first started developing a fever on January the 26th and did not seek medical treatment from any health facility. Instead, she took fever medications bought by her son from a local pharmacy near where they were staying. The family was due to depart Johor Bahru for Guangzhou, China last Tuesday, but postponed their return since the woman was feeling unwell. The Johor Bahru District Health Office received a complaint of the woman's condition from the management of the accommodation where they were staying, and she was sent to hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, the Health Minister is also asking high-risk groups to avoid visiting hospitals unnecessarily to avoid their risk of getting infected by the virus.
Golongan berisiko tinggi termasuklah kanak-kanak, ya, warga emas yang saya sebutkan berusia 60 tahun ke atas, pesakit dengan penyakit kronik dan pesakit dengan daya ketahanan badan yang rendah dan juga wanita hamil. Jika golongan ini masih perlu untuk lawat ke hospital atau hadir ke hospital, datang ke hospital, mereka dinasihatkan untuk mengamalkan penjagaan kesihatan diri.
He also advised the public to stay at least 2 meters away from any individual suspected of being infected by the novel coronavirus to avoid transmission through water droplets from saliva and sneezing. A total of 298 officers and staff of the Malaysian embassy in China, including 212 family members, will be brought back home in stages. Foreign Minister Datuk Saifuddin Abdullah said the move was aimed at reducing the health risk associated with the novel coronavirus.
Kita memutuskan untuk membawa balik secara beransur-ansur anggota keluarga pegawai-pegawai dan kaki tangan yang berada di Beijing dan 7 lagi pejabat kedutaan di China. Saya sebut itu Beijing dan 7 lagi, ini termasuk di Hong Kong dan di Taipei.
Datuk Saifuddin was speaking to the media after presenting 10 ambulances to Gaza under the Malaysian humanitarian aid program organised by the Malaysian Islamic Organisation Consultative Council, MAPIM. Also present were MAPIM President Muhammad Azmi Abdul Hamid and Chief Executive Officer Dr. Ahmad Sani Arabi Al-Kahiri. Datuk Saifuddin added that the government had no plans to prevent the entry of Chinese nationals into the country, with the exception of those from Wuhan in Hubei region and other areas in lockdown. In the meantime, the Transport Ministry has no plans to bar cruise ships from entering the country following the spread of the novel coronavirus infection. Its Minister Anthony Loke Siu Fook said the move would only be made after receiving a recommendation from the Health Ministry based on certain evidence.
We have not banned any cruise ship, but of course we will take measures to ensure that anyone coming into our country will be checked. In terms of their body temperature, in terms of their health condition, so all that will be checked at the gateway, okay, at our shores, at airports, at ports, etc. So all measures will be put in place by the Health Ministry, okay. But we have not decided to ban any cruise ships.
So far, Malaysia has only banned Chinese citizens from the Hubei region or any region that the Chinese government has declared in lockdown. The AFP recently reported that cruise liners worldwide have denied boarding to passengers and crew who have recently traveled to China. The report quoted a statement by the Cruise Lines International Association that said its members are taking extra precautions to prevent an outbreak of the virus on board cruise ships, where infections can spread rapidly. The government has asked surgical mask manufacturers to increase their production to support efforts against the 2019 novel coronavirus. Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said the government was ready to buy the masks if the manufacturers could increase supply.
Dan bagi setiap tambahan pengeluaran itu, kerajaan akan membelinya. Dan dengan jaminan itu, bekalan yang boleh mereka bekalkan serta-merta dengan meningkatkan pengeluaran harian ini, maksudnya kalau hari ini kita muktamadkan pembelian, besok juga kita akan boleh tambah sehingga 400,000 keping.
Datuk Sri Saifuddin said this at a joint press conference with Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng at the Finance Ministry on Friday. Malaysia currently imports surgical masks from China, Europe, the US and Singapore. Lim meanwhile said masks purchased for the government will be distributed according to the Health Ministry's recommendations. More on the coronavirus outbreak later in the bulletin. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad on Friday clarified that he never suggested that allegations of graft against AirAsia was an offset payment. A statement from his office explained that while answering questions from the press, he had pointed out that it is normal for the government to request for an offset to benefit from big purchases. The statement also explained that Tun Dr. Mahathir never stated that AirAsia benefited from the procedure and that if the money goes to individuals for personal benefit, then it becomes a bribe. Stating that it is up to the investigators to determine whether AirAsia received a bribe or not, the Prime Minister's office advised the media to be more sensitive as misleading reports could have undesirable consequences on the public's understanding of issues. Britain's Serious Fraud Office alleges that Airbus paid $50 million and offered $55 million more to sponsor a sports team linked to two unnamed key decision makers at AirAsia and AirAsia X. AirAsia Group Berhad and AirAsia X Berhad directors Tan Sri Tony Fernandes and Datuk Kamarudin Meranun said in a statement they categorically deny all allegations of wrongdoing or misconduct on their part as executives and directors of AirAsia with regard to the deferred prosecution agreement. Umno leaders have denied discussing the so-called Piccata National Initiative during the party's Supreme Council meeting on Friday. Umno Supreme Council member Datuk Sri Bung Mokhtar Radin said the main issue discussed was on Umno and PAS working together to strengthen their collaboration for the next general election.
No mention. Yes. So today, the main issue discussed at the meeting today, what was it?
Well, at the meeting, then to strengthen the Muafakat Nasional.
The Muafakat Nasional?
Yes.
Who is the Muafakat Nasional you're talking about?
Sorry?
PAS and UMNO?
Yes. PAS and UMNO. BN and UMNO. BN and PAS.
The Kinabatangan MP said this when speaking to the media after a 4-hour Supreme Council meeting at the party headquarters on Friday. Datuk Sri Bung Mokhtar also confirmed that several UMNO big guns would hold a meeting with PAS leaders on Saturday. The government's bid to forfeit more than 194 million ringgit from UMNO, Wanita MCA and two companies was dismissed by the Kuala Lumpur High Court. It was alleged that the monies belonged to One Malaysia Development Berhad, 1MDB, and were transferred from the personal account of UMNO's then-president, Datuk Sri Najib Razak. Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan dismissed the forfeiture suits on grounds that the remaining monies left in the respondent's bank account could not be convincingly said were proceeds from unlawful activities deposited by the former Prime Minister. Muhammad Zaini also found that the withdrawals from the bank accounts from the time the monies were deposited justified that it had long been spent and ordered for the accounts to be released immediately. The court, however, allowed the prosecution's application for a stay on Friday's ruling pending an appeal. The judge also gave an interim order for the accounts to remain frozen until disposal of the stay application. The monies were frozen by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, for its alleged links to the 1MDB fraudulent money scandal. The forfeiture applications against UMNO involved 192,965,413 ringgit and 61 sen and 300,000 ringgit against Wanita MCA. While the two companies, Perano Sendirian Berhad and Bin Sabi Sendirian Berhad, involved 337,634 ringgit and 78 sen and 827,250 ringgit respectively. On June the 21st last year, the MACC filed the civil forfeiture applications against 41 people and entities, including UMNO, to recover 270 million ringgit allegedly taken from 1MDB. In Johor, a woman and her two children were crushed to death when an oil palm tree fell on them as they were riding a motorcycle in Batu Pahat. The deceased, identified as 48-year-old Nur Azhana Othman, as well as Siti Nurin Shira Hasanuddin and Muhammad Arif Hasanuddin, aged 17 and 12 respectively, were killed on the spot due to severe head and body injuries. The trio were believed to have been travelling from Parit Siba when the 2.5-metre tall tree toppled on them. A team of firefighters rushed to the scene after they received an emergency call on the incident and took about an hour to extricate the victims from under the tree and clear the debris. 3 bodies were brought to the Sultana Nora Ismail Hospital in Batu Pahat for post-mortem. Police classified the case as sudden death. In Sabah, police have identified the suspect who shot 3 people, including 2 children, at Pulau Gaya on Wednesday night. According to Kota Kinabalu Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Habibi Manjinji, police believe vengeance could be the motive behind the shooting. This is because prior to the shooting, the suspect, known as Kacang Elias Mundung, in his 30s, had allegedly threatened the victim. Police believe the suspect is still hiding within Pulau Gaya and are expected to make an arrest soon. He called on villagers and anyone who has information about the suspect to come forward and assist with investigations. The case is being investigated for attempted murder. In Selangor, police have identified a woman who was filmed yelling, spitting and even hurling a traffic cone at authorities in Bandar Baru, Sungai Buloh on Thursday. Sungai Buloh District Police Chief Superintendent Syafa'atun Abu Bakar said an arrest will be made in order to assist investigations under Section 186 of the Penal Code for preventing public servants from carrying out their duties. The incident was earlier made viral on social media as netizens shared a 2-minute clip which was filmed from the upper floor of a nearby building where the woman's screams could be heard. It was believed that the woman acted hysterically after local council officers tried to tow her car, which was parked illegally. Still to come, Nightline's auto segment. Don't go away. Now on to Nightline's auto segment. BMW Malaysia's vehicle sales from BMW, Mini and BMW Motorrad slipped 19% to 11,567 units in 2019 compared to 14,338 units sold in 2018. The premium German marquee said the sales were underlined by the introduction of 32 new model variants across all brands, citing that 4 of which were electrified vehicles. BMW Malaysia Managing Director Harold Hosel said the company was proud to have achieved such success within the electrified segment in Malaysia, reaffirming its optimism for 2020.
And we will continue to deliver on this commitment for the years to come, especially in the light of the upcoming national automotive policy that will see electrified vehicles play a prominent role in propelling our automotive sector to greater heights.
He added that 2019 also marked the 3rd consecutive year for the company's expansion of infrastructure for electromobility. To date, the group has introduced 18 new BMW i-charging facilities across Malaysia, bringing the total to over 30 BMW i-charging facilities. The BMW brand sold 9,300 new vehicles last year, led by the delivery of the 3 Series, of which over 1,000 were the 330e M Sport. The BMW 5 Series was second best, with over 2,000 delivered in 2019, and the X family charting a total delivery of 3,985 units. Mini brands recorded 1,142 units last year, with the Countryman contributing 685 units, more than half of the total deliveries. Meanwhile, BMW Motorrad delivered 1,125 motorcycles to new owners, with the adventure segment being the key contributor to growth. For the 2020 prospectus, BMW Malaysia aims to further improve upon visionary mobility with a commitment to drive more innovation initiatives.
With a clear and continued commitment to drive initiatives for innovation, local assembly capabilities, and awareness on new and clean technology for the automotive industry, as well as charging the infrastructure for premium electrified vehicles in the country.
BMW Malaysia will aim to take out its luxury car rival Mercedes-Benz in contesting for the top premium car brand sold in the country. The world's best-selling luxury car brand Mercedes delivered 10,020 cars last year, capturing a 1.8% market share in the local automotive market. Scientists identify pangolin as possible coronavirus hosts. The details when we return. On to the foreign front. Chinese officials reported 73 new deaths and 3,143 new cases of the coronavirus on Friday, bringing the worldwide death toll to at least 638 and the number of confirmed cases to over 31,161. According to the National Health Commission, out of the total 73 new deaths reported, 69 cases were reported from the Hubei province, the epicenter of the outbreak, including 64 in the provincial capital, Wuhan. However, despite the development, Chinese President Xi assured US President Donald Trump on Friday that China is doing all it can to contain the virus and was confident it could defeat the epidemic with no long-term consequences for economic development. In the meantime, beyond China, Singapore on Friday confirmed 3 more cases of the coronavirus, bringing the total number of people infected in the city-state to 33. The new cases are not thought to have any link to previous infections or travel to China. It is understood that the junior college teacher was among the 3 new cases announced. This has prompted Singapore's authorities to raise its virus alert level to orange, up from yellow, as the new cases show the deadly pneumonia-like virus spreading. Meanwhile, Japan on Friday reported 41 new cases of a virus on a cruise ship that's been quarantined in Yokohama Harbor, bringing the total number of confirmed cases from the cruise ship to 61. The White House announced that, at the direction of President Donald Trump, the U.S. conducted a counter-terrorism operation in Yemen that successfully eliminated a founder and the leader of Al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula, Aqab, Qasim al-Rimi. The statement from the White House confirmed Rimi's death. However, it did not mention when he was killed. The White House also said Rimi's death further degrades Aqab and the global Al-Qaeda movement, and it brings the country closer to eliminating the threats these groups pose to national security. It further stated that the U.S., its interests and its allies are safer as a result of his death. Washington considers Aqab to be the worldwide jihadist network's worst, dangerous branch. It was reported by CNN last week that the U.S. conducted a strike targeting Rimi, who was repeatedly expressed interest in conducting attacks targeting the U.S. The U.S. government had offered a $10 million reward for information on Rimi. First stage action from the 2020 Le Tour de Langkawi. Stay tuned. Sports cycling, the 2020 Le Tour de Langkawi. Yevgeny Fedorov of Vino Astana Motors pulled off a thrilling victory in the opening stage of the race at Padang Merdeka in Kuching, Sarawak today. The 19-year-old Kazakhstan rider completed the 85.6-kilometer course around Kuching in a time of 1 hour, 51 minutes and 1 second. Turakit Bun Ratana Tanakorn of Thailand finished second, while Team Sapura Cycling's Ahmed Orkan completed the podium. Fedorov had attacked early and was soon joined by Turakit roughly 30 kilometers into the race. The duo worked together and at one point led by 5.5 minutes. Fedorov's win thus sees him taking charge of 3 jerseys: the yellow jersey, green jersey and the white jersey. The second stage of the 2020 LTDL will commence on Saturday from Kuala Terengganu to Kerteh, covering 175.5 kilometers with 3 sprint zones in Cendering, Rantau Abang and Bandar Al Muktafi Bilasha. Before we wrap up this edition of Nightline, let's take a look at what has been installed on the front pages of Malaysia's main newspapers on Saturday, February the 8th. The New Straits Times urges Hindu devotees and visitors attending the Thaipusam to exercise extra caution in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. with a report on 3 family members killed by uprooted palm oil tree, taking the front page of the nation's best-selling Malay daily, Harian Metro. And finally, Berita Harian focuses on how robots are helping to fight the coronavirus outbreak in China. Do get your copies. In the United Arab Emirates, some of the iconic buildings in Sharjah city were gloriously lit up in a spectacular, colorful display recently for the 2020 Sharjah Light Festival. Spread in 19 locations across Sharjah, the interactive Light Festival has become a major tourist attraction while promoting the Emirates' landmarks. Let's take a look. I'm Brendan Wong. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy your weekend.